Welcome to Living Martial Arts with Master Ray Gale, aka the Dark Master. Living Martial Arts discusses and examines the everyday exercise, philosophy, and lifestyle of the martial arts enthusiast. The host talks about his own training, past and present, and he also interviews many martial artists to discover how they continue to live their own martial arts journey. Tune in for top tips on how to get the best out of your martial art. Or perhaps you're thinking of starting a martial art. This podcast offers you an easy way to dip your toe in. Sign up for the newsletter at livingmartialarts.com and get regular updates and training tips direct to your inbox. Follow the Dark Master on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Living Martial Arts.
Hello to the Living Martial Arts podcast fans. I've got a fantastic guest with me today, somebody that I actually admired when I was competing. I still admire. One thing I know is that he's a lovely, lovely bloke. We have Master David Sheppard with us now, and he's going to talk a little bit about himself. So how are you doing, Master Sheppard?
Yeah, no, thanks very much. Great, thank you, Master Gale. Yeah, living the dream.
Excellent.
Keeping happy, teaching, getting the clubs going, getting the kids and all the students up to standard. So everything's going well in the Taekwondo world. Brilliant.
That's what we do, and that's the day-to-day stuff that I love as well, which is why I'm still doing it, and I'll keep doing it as long as I can. I'm only stopping when they bang the nails in and chuck the dirt on top. So
yeah. I agree with that. That'll be the same with me.
Yeah, definitely.
Lifelong passion.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, without further ado, I mean, I'll start in my usual way, and I usually ask people about their martial arts journey, how it started, where it's been, where it's gone, and as I always say, this can take years, particularly with people like yourself, because you've been training a long time, you've had a lot of success in Taekwondo in your life, so we have to have the shortened version, unfortunately. But
yeah, no, that's fine.
You go for it. So how did you start? And why did you start?
Well, I think it's the same old thing. When you're a kid in school, get a little bit of bullying going on. It wasn't as bad as it is today, because obviously in those days there was no social media, there's no internet in those days. But yeah. I was having trouble with some kids, and my mum and dad seen an advert in the paper, just a little 4 lines, Taekwondo demonstration, Risk Leisure Centre, Sunday night. I knew nothing about it. And they took me from my nan's. I was quite happy playing up there and eating cake. And I said, come on, we're going to have a look at this. And the instructor for Risk Leisure Centre, and he was the area rep at the time, was Lynn Evans.
Oh, wow. That's a blast from the past, yeah.
Yeah, that's an old one. But it's 41 years ago now since I started.
Yeah.
Went up there, seen this demonstration. Obviously, lots of board breaking, high kicks, flying kicks, all the patterns, the fighting, the sparring. And I thought, wow, this is fantastic. So went along, did a couple of sessions, went on holiday, and come back and did my first grading. And Lynn turned around and he said, I got to be honest, I didn't think I was going to see you again. I don't think I was naturally gifted. To put it bluntly, I wasn't coordinated. It wasn't something that I was looking at doing. It's not one of those things like, I've always wanted to do martial arts.
Yeah.
But yeah, the more I got into it, the more I enjoyed it. It's great because it's something that you can practice all the time. You can build your skills. Yeah. Even after 41 years now, I'm still evolving. I'm still trying to improve things.
Yeah.
Train for twice a week for a year. And then after that, I was doing 9 sessions a week with different instructors. I was quite lucky where I lived, because where I lived, I had 3 clubs within 3.5 to 5 miles in different directions.
Right. Yeah, that was quite rare those days.
Yeah. So I was very lucky, and I got on with every one of the instructors, and I got lifts off them. So my life just took over then. It was just Taekwondo. I wasn't interested in anything else.
Yeah. Well, it's I'd say a couple of things from there is, wow. I remember Mr. Lynn Evans, because I trained with him. The Bristol school that I was at had a quite a connection with the Welsh school, because it was quite close. And I remember doing some sessions under Lynn Evans and a couple of the early camps in Wales. And he was a tough instructor. Excuse me. He was quite a tough instructor, but I like that. I like the physical element.
It was one of those, you couldn't get away with it nowadays, but you didn't breathe unless he told you to breathe. It was the old school. You went in, you did exactly what you were told. It was the military discipline. And to be honest, I was 12, but I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I liked being told and being pushed as well. So it was fantastic. And that was my first introduction to the Bristol Academy. Was through him. We went on a training week. We did the Irish team came over. We did a training week in Monmouth, and we came across to look at a little competition you had in the academy. And it was fantastic.
But they were good days, and certainly it has changed. Old school training had something that only those that took part in it will remember it. We still got the scars, to be honest.
That's it. We got the scars, but we got the smiles as well. But the problem is, if we tried to teach like that, we'd have about 2 students. Maybe less than that. Maybe just us anyway. Might be teaching ourselves in the mirror.
It was good times. But when did you realize? Well, say realize, but when did you think, wow, I could be good at this? Was it as a color belt, or was it as a black belt, or when do you think, wow, I can really do something with this?
Yeah, well, I've always said there's 4 stages in Taekwondo where people tend to pack it in: green belt, red tag, black tags, and black belt. I got to red tag. I'd done about 2 or 3 years of competing. Didn't win a single fight. Didn't win anything. I was rubbish. I loved the training. Like I said, I was training 9 sessions a week, but I wasn't winning anything. And I went and trained with a guy, Gary Gasser, who lived around the corner from me, who was part of the TGP at the time.
Yeah.
And we did some drills. We were up in his attic. I was going running with him. Went to the English Championships. Won my first fight. Won 7 fights and won the competition.
Wow.
So I think it was one of those fine lines, because I think if I had lost that one, I would have left, because I was at that point where I'd had enough. But obviously I won that, and I think the confidence just grew from there. And then even now I say to my students, I can give you advice on competitions, but until you get in there and you live that atmosphere, that feeling, you don't know what you've got to do.
So I'm going to switch I forgot. I got another my mobile phone's going off here. I'm going to switch it off. Sorry.
No worries.
Right. Yes. Okay. Right. Go for it. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think from that, the confidence increases. And I made a promise to myself when I was about 14, 15, that it doesn't matter what happens, I'm going to go into the class and I'm just going to give it my all. I'm going to try every session. It's that thing, just try and be better than you were yesterday. But I don't think there was any time when I really thought I'm going to be awesome at this.
Well, not necessarily awesome, but I mean, I had what do you call it, an awakening or whatever you call it. I was a blue belt, and I was okay at Taekwondo because I was quite fit. I was always physically fit. That, so I could last a session, but I wasn't technically that good. And I remember going to a competition in Manchester and Bellevue, and I remember seeing somebody took a picture of me doing a pattern, and it was awful. It was really bad. The stance was terrible. I looked and thought, that can't be me. And I sort of, and I was on the edge then of not necessarily giving up, but thinking, because I was always into football. Football was my thing. And I sort of came to a thing there. Either I got to take this seriously and get better, or I got to get out. And I decided that I was going to take it seriously and try and do better, and work a bit harder and apply myself a bit more. And I did. And like you, as a colour belt, I mean, I got wasted in most of the competitions I was in. And I mean, part of that was when I started, and I don't know, because you were obviously competing as a junior. I was competing as an adult, and there was no weight categories when I was competing. So I was in with everybody. It was just green belts over there, blue belts over there. They paired you off. There was no weighing or anything. And that was it. So but I still enjoyed that. But I decided, right, I'm gonna knuckle down and I'm gonna do better at this. And once I did that, I started to really, really love it, enjoy it, and actually saw the gains that I was making. And it's interesting you say that, because I think we all go through a point where we're on the edge of, do we carry on? Do we give up? What do we do? And I tell my students this: I've been there. I know what it's like. And I just tell them, you need to just sit it out. Just sit it out for a couple of months, and you'll feel better.
Yeah.
About taekwondo, about yourself, and just apply yourself a little bit more. But
that's it. It's like in any part of life, you have ups and downs.
Yeah,
and it depends on how big a thing and how big a deal it is in your life, and how big a section of your life is going to take over. Yeah. You just got it. It's like you said. Then you sit out of it. You just look back. You may not be involved as much as you want, but you just let yourself go. And then all of a sudden, that love of it comes back, and then you put 100% back into it.
Yeah. No, it's great. Well, I'm gonna well, not embarrass you, but say something really good about you, because there are certain things that you see in life. I was thinking when I was just driving back from training, actually. I was thinking, the Cruyff turn in football, which was, I remember seeing that in the World Cup, thinking, wow, and going to try it in the park. I remember you when you came on the scene, and I don't know whether it was something you did or who you got it from, but you had the most amazing machine gun sidekick. And for me, if somebody says to me, where did you see it first? I would say, I saw that Dave Sheppard saw that when he did it. And when you started kicking like that, to me, all of a sudden, everybody else wanted to kick like that. They really did. Yeah. That's the impression I got, because it was so effective and you were so good at it. So my question is why did you start doing that? Where did you get it from?
To be fair, when I was a junior and I used to fight, axe kick was my kick.
Yeah.
And I'd stay there all day and I'd just be dropping axe kicks on people. And I think it just evolved. We started doing some little sidekick drills where you'd be doing like double sidekick, foot down, double sidekick for a minute on each leg.
Yeah.
And training with Gianni Peros, or Master Gianni Peros. We did like lots of like 1 minute kicks, keep the leg up, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
But when I sparred in the club, I never used it.
Oh wow.
I would always be doing flashy stuff.
Yeah.
It would only ever come in when I was competing.
Yeah.
And I think it's like the jab. I tell my students now, I use the sidekick like a jab. You're just keeping the person at distance, but you've got to be relaxed with it. You've got to be soft with it. So if people push down on your leg, you can just flow with it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something I specifically went out to do. It just evolved when I got into the adults category. Because it was, again, with the adults, it took me 3 years before I won anything in the adults.
Yeah.
And then from there onwards, it just, then everything took off. So,
yeah, well, I mean, I remember seeing it and thinking, well, yeah, your ability to kick, particularly that front leg. I mean, front leg kicking is quite a normal thing now. Otherwise, I still don't think I'm not blowing smoke here, but I still don't think many people do it as well as you did do it at that time. I mean, I see people who can do it. There were a few. You had your people like Tony Sewell, for example.
Who
could kick front leg, but he could just change the height wheel, and I think that was a certainly unique. But I think the way that you did it. And the way that you use that front leg at that time was very, very unique. Many people tried to copy it, myself included. I remember going thinking, "Crikey, I've got to try and do that," but it wasn't me. I was never. I wouldn't consider myself a good kicker. That wasn't my game. But when I looked at you, I thought, wow, getting past that leg was just. I saw people just get caught every single time with that.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. Yeah, I can honestly, I can't say that I went out looking to do that. Yeah, I think it was just down to one of those things where, because I was training all the time and I absolutely loved it, and I just worked with a lot of people that fought in different ways, and I think it just automatically. I found my way of fighting without actually looking for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does, and I think it certainly worked for you and worked really well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Is it something that you I mean, I don't know. What I tend to do now is I don't really do a lot of sparring. I spar with the kids.
Yeah.
I generally don't spar with the ones that do competitions because I don't want to get hurt. So,
Yeah, we're getting older now. We're not as fast.
well, I often think to myself, Christ, he's hit me. I've got to hit him back now,
Yeah.
and then I get myself injured. But is it something that you try and pass on, or is it just something that people see you do in your class?
Well, I tell people this is the way I fight. I said this suits me, but it's not going to suit everybody. But whereas you were looking at me and saying, "Oh, I'm a fantastic front leg kicker. He can do this. I want to try that." I looked at the likes of yourself, Ralph Minot, who were fantastic, working off both legs, coming in with the hands.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I tried to emulate that on some occasions, and I just can't do it. It doesn't work for me mixing it around that way. So
yeah,
when I'm teaching, I I try and go out of my comfort zone and teach the stuff that I don't do when I'm fighting,
yeah,
so that they've got all the options and then they can make their own way through the
yeah,
competition scenes. And I say to them sometimes, try this. It might only ever work once, but it might be at the right time.
yeah.
But you've all got to develop your own way of fighting. So I'm going to give you the skills, and then
Sure.
you can develop in your own time.
Sure. No, that's good, and I think it is important because I would agree with that. You see particular people, and if somebody is perhaps not as gifted with their legs, there's no point in trying to get them to do high section hook kicks or whatever.
Yeah.
You've got to work with what they've got and try and pinpoint their best asset.
That's it.
For
So
them.
I think in the past, when I wasn't as experienced as a teacher,
Mm.
I am aware that I tried to force my front leg kicking on people, and I've seen them going backwards in their sparring.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
luckily, I was able to realise where I was going wrong and then change it and work on their strengths.
Yeah. Well, you've often been the conversation in my school, because I've talked to people about the first time I saw this being being done successfully, and I mentioned your name. So it's definitely at a time really, really good to see. And I think what I also try to do as well, as I say to the students, is watch fighters and watch people who are maybe similar to you and see what they do. How do they win? What sort of tactics are they using? Because I think that looking visually is just as important. In fact, very, very important.
Oh God, yeah. And especially with all the social media they've got nowadays, you've got to remember, for us in the old days, you might get a little grainy video somewhere. I think probably all of us were like watching all the Rocky training scenarios and the Bruce Lee films and trying to copy stuff off those. I think that was our social media in those days, watching the fight scenes over and over again.
Yeah.
But you've got so many people out there now, and you are right. You've got to go out there. You've got to watch them, see what works, try it out. If it doesn't work for you, don't do it exactly the same as that person. That person's developed differently. Their body shape is different. You've got to try and work it to suit yourself. But they've got so many different options to choose from now.
Yeah. Sort of moving on, I'm still talking about competing. I was doing in fact I'm doing a series of podcasts. I'm talking about the mindset of a fighter and the type of mindset you have to have. I've actually used one of the examples about one of your colleagues, and it was Wayne Burnett. And I remember fighting him, and he hit me the hardest I'd ever been hit. And
he had fast legs.
He had amazing legs. Legs. I remember I actually feared him as a fighter because I thought, wow, how am I going to get around that? I mean, my sort of style, as you probably know, was a lot of movement. I tried to move. Yeah. But I remember he caught me with a back kick in the corner. And I remember it well. It was an absolutely stunning back kick. I took my breath in and I held my breath for about 30 seconds. And I ran back to the line and started jumping on the spot and thinking, I hope he doesn't come for me now because I've got nothing to offer. And I just ran around for about 30 seconds until I got my breath back.
Yeah.
I look at that now and I think, wow, my mindset was such that I'm not going to go down. I'm not going to go down. Don't go down. Don't go down. And I didn't. And I was really pleased with the way that I handled that. And I had a very strong mindset from, I don't know, the type of training. I had confidence in the fact that I was fit and able to do those 2 minutes and then do another 2 minutes and do another 2 minutes. And that really built my mindset. So I'm just sort of really, the question I want to ask is, how you obviously did have a strong mindset. I could tell that the way you thought, you never gave in, you were strong. And just wondered, how you built that. How did you develop it?
Well, going back to where you said you got hit by Wayne, I had a very similar situation fighting Jackie White Senior. He caught me with 2 ridge hands in a competition in Coventry, and I remember blacking out and thinking, if I go down now, I'm never getting back up.
Yeah.
Because that guy was just unreal. He was fantastic, an amazing fighter. But yeah, exactly the same. I just don't like being beaten. And one of the things that made me really hungry is when I was competing. I've been really good the last couple of years. I love food, especially cake. I don't drink. I've never drunk, but I love cake. I love biscuits. I packed chocolate in years ago because I used to eat about 60 bars a week. So when I was going to competitions, I had to diet. If you told me I had to train more, so be it. I'm doing something I love. Why wouldn't I want to train more? The fact I had to cut out food, those people were causing me to miss out on cake. So it was like the eye of the tiger type thing. That's the thing that made me hungry for it. I've worked hard for this. I've deprived myself of something. I'm not giving up. I want that. I want to be the top dog. I've worked for it. I've worked hard. I've had to get my weight down. There's nobody that's worked as hard as me. And I'm not going to allow them to beat me. It's a competitive thing. It's in you.
Yeah.
It's like I trained really, really hard. I used to train, depending on what competition, 15 to 28 hours a week, doing different things, weights, taekwondo classes, circuits, running, skipping, all sorts.
Yeah.
But it's just, I do not like losing.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, it came over in your fighting, and like I said, I used to watch a lot of fighters. Used to watch yourself and a lot of other fighters. And one of my things was, it was always a thing that when I was in my division, of course, all the youngsters coming through were going to be in the lightweight division for at least a competition or two. And I remember seeing you thinking, wow, this guy's good. I always watch and think, right, are they going to gas after 30 seconds, or are they going to last the 2 minutes and do it, even do more than that? And I remember seeing thinking, wow, this guy's fit.
I remember I was in a competition up in Scotland, and I was fighting Elvis Parsley.
Yeah.
And Phil Burley, who's been my instructor for probably the last 35 years. He's my son's godfather. He's an amazing friend, amazing coach, and the success he's had with his club, with all the guys from Newport. He's a nice guy.
He's
he's absolutely lovely guy, and he loves taekwondo. He eats, sleeps, and breathes it. But he said to me, I come off the fight. I think I lost to Elvis on that occasion. I was 16, 17. He said, you look knackered, absolutely knackered. So every time I went running then, towards the end of every run, I'd smile. I'd be running down the street with this huge grin like Garfield. Just getting that thing so that I would never, ever show that I was tired again. And there's days when I was absolutely blowing out of my backside. But I just wouldn't let the other person see it. I just couldn't do it. It was so, and I just worked even harder and pushed and pushed. I loved it. It's hard to get across. I just absolutely loved it. And if I could do X amount of burpees, I'd want to do X amount of burpees more the next time. Same with press ups, the same with the kicks. If you're doing a minute to kick in, depending on what kick it is, you should be looking at doubling it. So if 60 seconds, you should be looking 115, 120 kicks. If you don't do it, why? Make sure you do it next time.
Yeah.
So that fitness level, I just wanted to be the best. And to be the best, you have to work hard and you have to push it, listen to the people around you, and then keep pushing it again.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. And I think, I remember saying to, some of my students, when I used to go to squad training, I used to train to go to squad training.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting fit at squad training. I get fit to go to squad training.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be like, I wanted to do more burpees than Master Walton, or I wanted to be kick and keep my leg in the air as long as Master Silver and all that sort of stuff. So that's what I'd be doing.
I think that's the thing with us and the people that are competing and the ones who are at the top. You want to improve all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not just about, is this going to be good? You want it to be so far above everybody else that you're willing to put yourself into that blood, sweat, and tears. You go through the pain barrier, and then you just keep pushing. And I said, there's two types of pain. There's an ooh pain. There's like, oh, and there's a pain. There's a nice pain, and there's a bad pain. And when you hit that nice pain, you go through it again. It's a nice feeling. And it's the difference between people willing to push through that pain barrier.
Yeah, definitely.
And I agree with you with the squad training, because I've often said, if you were going out on your wedding day and you got that notification the squad training was on, they'd be like, cancel the car, I'm putting my trainers on, I'll run now. Because you had to get fit, otherwise you would die.
Yeah. But no, that's very, very, very true. Yeah, you die or you get hurt, don't you?
That's it. Yeah,
both the same thing in one way, and some of those fighters. But no, well done. No, I think it's great, and some great insights there. So coming up to present day, you're sort of teaching your school, and obviously, I mean, you've had some great successes in your life. It's always difficult to pinpoint one or some of the fights that you've probably had. Are there any particular ones you could say, right, I was really made up, I won that one, I won this one, and any particular ones? I mean, I've got a couple that that I always think, wow, I was pleased when I won that.
I think one that really helped me was when we had the BTC competitions.
Yes.
And the first BTC that come around, the message was, if you win this, you're in the British team.
Yeah. And
I'd only won the British Championships in the November. The BTCs were in the December. It was 4 weeks later.
Yeah.
And that was British TAGB was the first one I'd won. And then the BTCs come up and I won that. And I was elevated to the squad, to the British squad.
Yeah.
And then from there, we went to Ireland. It was the weekend that Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas. Nelson Mandela was let out of prison.
Yeah.
I was on the team with you and Augie and like the other guys. So I think that's possibly one of the biggest moves, because it elevated me up to the next level to push even harder.
Yeah.
I think another good one would be when I won my first world title.
Yeah.
I fought Lee Childs in the final.
Wow,
He'd beaten me 3 times. The 3 times I competed against him that year, the only 3 times I fought him, and he beat me convincingly.
Yeah.
I got closer to him on each one.
Yeah.
And I think what was good was when I got through to the final, seeing Grandmaster Oliver and Grandmaster Kenny Walton's face.
Yeah.
Because they knew the history. So they saw I was in the final, and you could see the look on it. Oh, we got this one.
Yeah.
But I trained really hard for that World Championships. I honestly thought, I was 21, and I thought, right, you've got to put your life and soul into this, because by the time you're 24, which would be the next Worlds, at that time, I thought, I'm going to be married with kids. I'm not going to have time to do it.
Yeah.
So I put a lot of effort in, and there were certain things which I changed. I trained with Gianni Peros, Master Peros, the Welsh coach.
Yeah.
And there was stuff that I took from his training and put with mine, and the mixture of the two turned me into that fighter. So possibly that's where I developed the style. I didn't like the way that his fighters fought. Loved watching them, but it didn't suit me at all.
No.
And I think if I carried on fighting the way I was fighting, I would have got picked off too easy. And there was one point in that fight, he went to an extension, and Lee caught me with 2 headshots.
Yeah.
And I went to rush in, and I thought, if I do that, he's going to catch me again. So I moved around a bit, and I just took my time. Then I caught him with a body and headshot, and I caught him with a few other things. And it was, I don't know what the scores were, but it was a close fight, and I got the decision. So I think from that fight, again, the confidence levels just rocketed. And the more wins, the more confidence, the more you get, and then people start looking at you differently as well. And
Yeah.
And you do get an extra few points against some fighters. They look at you and they think, "Oh my God, I'm fighting Dave Sheppard," and different mindset.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant because as you know, Lee Charles was a student of myself and Master O, and when he came up against you, like I said, he'd beaten you previous times. I thought, and you totally turned it around. I mean, fair play to you. You certainly took it to him, and I think that was that showed some real mental strength as well. And it showed what you were about, because you had lost to him previously, but just go in there and do what you did was awesome.
Yeah, the first time I fought him was in the Four Nations in the February.
Yeah,
and oh my God, he absolutely annihilated me. It was over 2 rounds, and the first round, I might as well have just been a baby in a high chair and let him take pot shots at me. He hammered me, and I pulled it together in the second round. I think the next fight was at an open karate point tournament where he just battered me with axe kicks.
Yeah.
And then the next one was the English Championships in the May. So it was a couple of months before the Worlds. And I got a little bit, but he still beat me convincingly.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't know, I think, like I said, I trained really hard. And I think at that point, I think my whole mind and my maturity within martial arts and competing changed on that day, on that weekend.
Yeah, well, I think it did, and I think actually he was never the same after that. Actually, he was never the same after that, and really he's then started to fade out. I think that was sort of like the beginning of the end for him.
But it was a big title, and I think he was the favourite by a long way.
Yeah.
Going into that, because he was winning everything. His technique was phenomenal for somebody technically as skilled as him, that was able to fight. You don't normally see technically good people, good fighters. He was textbook. He was beautiful to watch, and I think he was such a big favourite when he went up against me.
Yeah,
that it was a bit of a shock. It was a shock for all of us because I wasn't expecting it myself.
Well, I think I'm trying to think how long it was before that World Championships, but he was my student, and I remember fighting him in a competition. And I just beat him.
Yeah,
I thought to myself, this is time to chuck the towel in because, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure he was probably giving me some respect as his instructor as well, because it's very when you're that. So I'm not saying he went full out or anything, but I just thought to myself, do you know what? This is the time to try. I don't really want to be fighting my own students. Teach the class how to beat me or whatever. So I sort of from them backed off on that, and you gotta
let the kids. At the end of the day, the students they're like our children, aren't they? It's just this is our Taekwondo family.
Yeah,
and you've got to let them flourish.
You've
got to let them improve and get their skills higher.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's really important. So, I mean, again, great insights. I hope my students listen to this a lot, and I hope they take something from this.
Hopefully.
That you have to keep going, and not everybody starts at the top. Students go into their first competition, they lose, and then they go, I'm not doing it again. I said, well, you got to fight. I will say to them, I've lost more than anybody else here when I'm in my class. I've lost more fights than all of you put together. But I've also won a lot as well. But you have to learn how to lose and lose well and learn from it and then move on.
That's what I say to a load of people, not just in Taekwondo, in any sport, because I work in a leisure centre. So I speak to a lot of different sports people and athletes. And I'd say, I think the best competitors are the ones that learn to lose originally, because I've seen so many people slightly opposite to you. They've gone in, they've won the first couple, they've then lost, and they don't know how to cope with it. And you don't see them again, or they don't want to compete anymore.
Yeah.
But I think if you lose and you want to improve, it gives you that little bit of hunger. And you've got to work for it. I don't care how good you are, it doesn't matter what sport you're in, even if you're not in sport, in work, you've got to have that hunger to go for it. And you've got to keep digging deep, and you've got to keep pushing for it. If you want to succeed, you've got to push, doesn't matter what field you're in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, thanks for that. I mean, we're coming towards the sort of the end of the podcast, but before that, I wanted to ask of just a few more questions. Is any sort of plans for the future for yourself? Is it a case of just carry on teaching, bringing some more people through? Any other designs in Taekwondo that you like to achieve?
Well, as I said earlier, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm always trying to improve. We got the World Championships coming up. I think it's 13th Taekwondo International World Championships. So I'm going to be giving it a go in the sparring, in the vets.
Great.
Yeah, I'm going to get out there, go for the patterns as well. Again, I still got issues. I do stuff and I look at it and I think, no, that's not right. That's got to be better than that. I've got to work on it.
Yeah.
So I'm still doing that. Obviously, with my little one now, I've got more in my life outside of Taekwondo, but I might have to change things on the work platform. So I think I might go into the teaching a little bit more. And there's a possibility of going full time. Not definite at the moment, but that's a possibility. And just keep the club going and improving. And as I said just a moment ago, I look at the kids, the same kids, all my students. I got a student now, he's just passed his 4th Dan on the weekend. He doesn't know yet, other than the fact I haven't rung him to tell him any different. He's 70 in 3 weeks' time.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So, and I still look at him as my kid.
Yeah.
He's my Taekwondo family child. And I just want them to all develop and get better and better and better. I am a hard instructor.
Yeah.
I'm one of those, you can have a laugh and a joke. Like I said, most of my students, I'm Shep.
Yeah.
There's certain times when it's Master Sheppard or Sir and all this, as long as they do the work, I'm happy with them. If they mess about, I'll come down on them like a ton of bricks. But it's because I want them to develop and get better and carry that through their life, not just in Taekwondo.
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, as an instructor, sometimes it's tough, but it should. And I know, knowing you, I know, like myself, it'll come from a place of love for them to be better and so on. So just you mentioned, obviously, you got your kids and whatever. Is there anything else that you do apart from your Taekwondo? I know we talked a little bit off audio about my love for guitars and motorbikes and going to sessions.
I spend a lot of time, like my oldest son's in London. He's doing a master's at the moment on politics.
Oh, wow.
In LSE. And he's having an absolutely amazing time. I don't think he can get any more out of it. He loves London. London loves him. It's a good match. So I'm happy with him. My middle son, Thomas, he's into goalkeeping and football.
Oh,
so
wow.
I tend to spend a lot of time running him round and helping him out and seeing him push, taking him to the gym, which is really good. He was double European champion in Taekwondo and then packed it in because he wanted to go and play football. I was like, I felt like I'd been dumped when he told me that. I was like, what? But hopefully he'll come back at some point. But other than that, skiing is my other love. But haven't managed to do anything for the last few years. So I'm hoping that next year we're going to get a couple of skiing holidays in.
Oh, brilliant.
And a family.
Well, that'd be really nice. That'd be
it's so exhilarating. It's brilliant. Everybody go out and ski. It's amazing.
That'll be good. Do you know, I was due to go on a skiing trip, a Taekwondo skiing trip, actually, that I'd organised many years ago.
Yeah.
And then we organised the trip and I was ill. I couldn't go.
Oh, no way.
Everybody else went. And, I've never been since. that literally, I want to say it was about 35 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, you've missed out there. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. The feeling you get. It's the only thing that I've done that even matches the feeling I got from Taekwondo.
Right.
Yeah, it's so exhilarating. And I think there's a tagline in one of the holiday companies, relax as hard as you want.
Well, I don't know, I might have to disagree because there's nothing like getting on a motorbike and because that's where I get my exhilaration. Well, do you know I was on my bike yesterday and I was going down a carriageway and there was no traffic. I was let's just say I was going close to the limit, and I loved it. I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. And that was really exhilarating. So maybe I don't know. I might get to skiing again. But
I did have a motorbike about 20 odd years ago, and I came off it going through one of the national parks up in North Wales.
Yeah.
And he ended up rolling down the side of a mountain doing a handstand up against a tree. And I haven't been on one since. I thought,
leave that.
I'll just leave that. As much as I wanted to do it, it wasn't for me.
All right. Well,
even though I look like a biker more now than I did.
I was going to say that beard is you're more of a biker than I am. But my last question is: have you still got a love of cake?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I do have a love for cake, but I haven't eaten it for 2.5 years.
Oh wow!
My girlfriend said to me a while ago, well, just at the beginning of December in 2020, I bet you can't go for 3 days without eating junk food.
Yeah.
And then it went on for 3 weeks, and then it was like till the end of January, and then this is me. I'm either all or nothing. I got no grey areas. I either do it 100% or it's pushed to the side. But I'll see how I get on after the Worlds. If I do well at the Worlds, I'm looking forward to a nice big chunk of cake.
Nice big chunk of cake. Well, yeah, dark chocolate is my vice, although it's quite a nice vice actually. It's not too bad, dark chocolate.
No, that's the good chocolate.
Yeah, anything over 70%. So there's not a great deal of sugar in it. But I do love that. My diet tends to be I don't know. People see it as quite extreme. I suppose you could call it carnivore. I don't eat a lot of carbs and
a lot of meat.
Yeah, so there's a lot of meat, a lot of fats. Actually, my diet's quite high fat actually.
Yeah, caveman diet.
But there we go. Well, listen, just when we finish, hang on after I close this down. But I just want to say thank you ever so much for agreeing to do this. One thing that I will say is when you were competing, you were a great competitor, and win or lose, you're always the same, and I love that about you. I love the fact that you won with dignity and lost with dignity as well whenever you lost or whatever. And I think that is really the mark of a great fighter. And as I said, I think I would put you in that category. If people ask me about fighters who've brought something to the game, I would say David Sheppard, his front leg sidekick is second to none. So thank you very, very much for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all the kind words and everything as well. Like I said, I've just loved it and always have, always will. And if I can inspire anybody through this podcast or just throughout me training or being around, then it just makes me even happier.
Excellent. Well, hopefully we'll speak after this. If you want to put anything in the show notes, anything about yourself or any of the schools, then we can do that. So I just want to say thank you very much to the Living Martial Arts podcast fans. Hope you've enjoyed that podcast with Master David Sheppard. He's a lovely, lovely person. If you are in his area, okay, we'll put some stuff in the show notes. Go to his school. You will absolutely love it. Take care, and I'll speak to you all soon again with another podcast. Thank you.